Assalamu alaikum rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. May the peace and blessings and mercy of God be upon you. Don't you think that's a nice thing to say? I was raised in a Lutheran Christian church, and at the end of every sermon, at the end of church on Sundays, the pastor would say, "Peace be upon you," and then the congregation would say, "and also with you." So before I actually became Muslim, Instagram and my bio said, "Peace be with you," because I had this realization one day as like, I always said, "Peace be with you," and also with you. And it was like never something I thought about. It was just something I did. But when I stopped and I actually thought about it, I was like, what nicer thing can you say than like, "Peace be with you. I hope you have peace. I hope you," I think that's so beautiful. So when I started learning about Islam and I kept hearing salam, salam, salamu alaikum, it was something that I really was like, hey, I already do that. And it was like something in common, and it was like shocking, like, there's another religion that does that? You also say "peace be with you"? I do that? Okay, so I was like, what harm is it for me to say it in Arabic? Because when I actually thought about things, I was like, okay, American people did not grow out of the ground in America. Obviously, America is based on immigration and people from other lands, and English is a new language. So I'm like, okay, so I guess what language did Jesus or Moses or Adam or Noah speak? And it wasn't English, so it wasn't a weird thing for me to say, oh, I want to say "peace be with you," something I've always said in church, in maybe a language that's closer to the origin of the people that I look up to, respect, and try and model my behavior after. With this being said, I want to talk about how I was a Christian and I loved Jesus and I loved God. These were two things that were absolutely 100,000% non-negotiable in my life. There was no telling me that Jesus was not real. There was no telling me that Moses was not real. There was no telling me that Adam and Eve were not real. There was no telling me that we evolved from apes or that God was not real. These are my beliefs. They were, they still are, and they have not changed at all. When I met my first Muslim, I would never have been open to this religion had the stories been any different. Like, had like Jesus been eliminated, had it been a dramatically different story. I learned the religion my whole life. I practiced it. I was Christian. I was in church and Bible study and all of these, things. And I loved Jesus and I loved God and I loved the prophets, peace be upon them. And I reached a point where I actually thought about it and thought about the prayers that I knew and like it meant to say these prayers, and ultimately realized that it's about doing and being good. And I looked to Jesus as a model for how to conduct myself. I felt like he was an exceptional human being, that he was so kind, and that he had good character, good speech, and that so many people saying that Jesus was, a liar, that he was not real. They were saying that the Virgin Mary was not really a virgin, etc., etc. You know the stories. And I just thought about how his response must have been so beautiful, that he never went out and he never responded with hate to hate. That he was never a total jerk to people who had harsh words or bad treatment. And, people did treat him terribly and ultimately tried to kill him, and really just, was not cool. I always looked to Jesus as a model for my own behavior, because if he could go through what he went through and he could be kind and he could be a good man, then I should use that as a model for how I respond to people in times of adversity and difference of opinion, when I'm dealing with people who are mean to me or harsh to me, or when I'm having a hard time. So with that being said, I want to say that Jesus really was a model for my behavior, my kindness and my compassion and my patience towards others before I was Muslim. I really loved him and I really looked to him as a role model. That being said, I wanted to say that I think it's important, no matter what your faith is, for you to stop and think about people like Noah, Moses, Abraham, Jesus, Muhammad, peace be upon them all, and to think about what their response was to the haters, the critics, the jerks, and what their response was to people who were different than them. Did they ever go speak a bad word? Did they ever go cuss and troll and be mean, ridicule, insult another being? So I'm getting a lot of hate, I'm getting a lot of love, a lot of feedback, and I just want to say that you being mean to me does not make you a better person than me. It does not change my journey. It does not change my story. It doesn't change my thoughts and opinions. But I will not be mean to you in response to your action. Because I love God, I love the prophets, and I am trying to conduct myself with respect and dignity and ultimately good speech and beautiful behavior. inshallah. I know that we are only humans, that it is frustrating to see people who have difference of opinion, but please try and keep in mind how the prophets conducted themselves when it was difference of opinion. Now, with that being said, I want to say my love for Jesus, his behavior, and modeling him in my life allowed me to not be racist. It allowed me not to be judgmental. It allowed me to have patience and be kind to others. So when I actually met other people, whether I was a Christian and I was talking to an atheist, or I was talking to a Muslim, or whoever it was, I always was kind. So I really think that that set me up for when I met my first Muslim. Instead of being harsh-hearted and harsh behavior, I was like, oh, that's cool. And it allowed me to be kind to them in order to talk to them and listen to them. Now, I want to preface this by saying, had Islam been based on something different than the stories in the Bible, the prophets in the Bible, and God, I would have said no. So, for example, if somebody would have been like, oh, I'm Buddhist and I believe in Buddha, I would have just been like, that's really cool. No. But when I met a Muslim and I was kind and respectful and I was having a dignified conversation, I was shocked to find out that Islam also, you have to love Jesus and accept him. If you are a Muslim, you have to think that. So if you are non-Muslim right now and you're watching this video thinking that, I don't know what you're thinking, just know that we all love Jesus. Jesus is a beloved prophet, and he is somebody that we all look to and have to believe in order to be Muslim. So, alhamdulillah, I'm not trying to lecture you, but I'm just trying to say I will always be kind because Jesus was kind, and I will always be nice to others because I think that's the right thing to do. I believe that God is with us, he is near, he is closer than our jugular vein. He sees everything, and his sight is perfect. He's perfect, subhanAllah. And it's me sad that people want to have hate, but that's the nature of free will. Just please keep in mind you will have your own judgment one day, and I would hate to be the reason for anybody's bad deeds, you know? I think that we can use Jesus, Muhammad, Noah, Abraham, Adam, all of these beautiful, beautiful people with beautiful speech and character, peace be upon them all, as a way to model our behavior. So if you are talking to somebody you disagree with, be nice and say a good word and exit the conversation. I encourage you to listen. If you're in a conversation with somebody, don't listen to talk. If they're talking, don't. I'm sure somebody right now is typing a comment before even listening to half of this video. And, you know, it doesn't upset me because people far greater than me had far bigger struggles and they handled it so much more beautifully than. Also, this is a word for my revert girls, and it's like, you're gonna go through this with your families, with your friends. They're gonna say you're crazy, you this, you this, you this. But it's like, think about the Virgin Mary when she went out into the desert and she had a baby and she had never been touched by a man, and she had to come to town with a baby and say, I don't know, and you know, she had to stand there and she had to know the truth, and she wasn't mean, she wasn't unkind. You have to think of Moses and the Pharaoh. He probably wasn't in there cussing and fighting. And just know that somebody will always have something to say, whether you are doing it 100% right, following the Bible 100% how it says to be following it. You are going to be so much more similar to a Muslim. And if you're following Islam the way you're supposed to follow it, you're going to have good behavior, good character, you're going to have remembrance of God. Both of these religions are designed to praise God, to do the right things, to be beautiful people, to have self-control. So, you know, when dealing with your families and your friends, keep this in mind. And remember that had any of these prophets who had ever been selected, had they been rude, had they been jerks, nobody would ever have followed them. Yeah, people criticize them and call them crazy, but they were special. So if you're a revert and you're going through this, you're special. And I love you guys. I think that's it for this video. Think about your behavior. Think about the way you treat others. And remember that everybody on this planet was chosen by God. He gave them life. He brought them here and he gave them free will. Even if they're an atheist, until they die, there is a chance for them to come back to him. How beautiful is that? There's a chance for an atheist to come back to God in the most beautiful way. So when you're sitting here fighting with someone and you're, you know, being nasty and you're being judgmental, just keep in mind that that's not going to bring them closer. And don't be the reason why somebody stays farther from God, right? So I love you guys. I pray that you are blessed, you're happy, you're healthy. I pray your struggles turn to ease. Let's do and be better. Let's think about how we behave, and let's not engage in bickering, fighting, bantering. Let's carry ourselves with dignity, inshallah. I'll talk to you soon.